And welcome to everyone. Their guest is Cage Warriors fighter Ben Ellis. Ben, thank you so much for accepting the call. And what can I say about yourself in general to get to know our fans with you, if okay to you?
Hi, mate. Thank you for having me on. In terms of getting to know me, basically, I just like to fight. Typical Welsh Valleys boy. Grew up. My grandfather was a pro boxer, so I was boxing from a very early age, and then as MMA developed, I got onto that pretty quickly, and then here we are now.
So you decided to follow his footsteps. Did he inspire you, or you had some other inspirations for your career?
No, 100%. My grandfather was my main inspiration for sure. We've got a few family stories of when he had to fight in the streets and things like that. So growing up, it was a case of if ever I was in a position where I had to defend myself or defend somebody else, I wanted to be able to do it. It was just coincidental that when he was growing up, in the UK, if you were a fighter, it meant you were a boxer. And then obviously with the growth of MMA, like now it means if you can fight, it means you pretty much have to be a mixed martial artist. Like any individual combat sport athlete isn't going to be able to fight a proper fight with an MMA guy. So that's what led me towards MMA.
So in general, if I understood well, your first martial art was boxing, right?
Yeah, that's me.
And when did you officially step in the world of MMA? When did you officially start training MMA?
It was probably 5-6 years ago. So I was in university in Gloucester, and there's a mixed martial arts gym in Cheltenham, which is close to Gloucester. So I went up there. Actually, I thought it was a boxing gym. So I went up there for what I thought was boxing, and it ended up being mixed martial arts. And then I just stuck around. So I was training there for a few months while I was in uni. And then when I came home, then I was training out of the Mat Academy in Wales, which is where I grew up.
Do you have a nickname?
No nickname. I don't really like the whole nickname thing, to be honest. Like you say, my name's Ben Ellis. Call me Ben Ellis. I think if somebody came up with a really clever nickname, then I'd go with it. But nah, I like just my name.
Okay, no problems. How would you describe your fighting style?
Boxer, wrestler, which is someone who comes forward and puts on the pressure, I would say.
So you prefer keeping the fight on the feet, or you're fine wherever the fight goes?
Fine wherever the fight goes. Like I say, boxing was my first martial arts. At the minute, in Cage Warriors, they seem to have a bit of an obsession with me wrestling. Just they've seen me wrestle a lot. I finished a few fights with ground and pound. So they seem to think that that's the only thing I like to do, which definitely isn't the case. I can fight wherever.
Who are your coaches, sparring partners at the moment?
So coaches, I got quite a few coaches. My head MMA coach is Lou Long. So he's a current Bellator welterweight. Wayne Soundways takes the jiu-jitsu. My wrestling coach is Arash. I actually can't pronounce his last name, so I'm not even going to try. But he's Iranian. He was on the Iranian national wrestling team. Very, very good wrestler. And then we're striking. We have Jimpy, Joey Brinkat, and then I've got my original amateur boxing club as well.
You've had many amateur fights under your belt. So how did you feel heading into your first amateur fight? That is question number one. Question number two, who was the toughest amateur opponent for you and why? Who gave you a very, very hard time in your amateur MMA career?
So in terms of how I felt, I was ready to fight. I think I was 22 when I fought my first amateur fight. Like obviously now you get 17, 18-year-olds making their amateur MMA debut. But I think with me, because I waited a little bit longer, I was just raring to go. There wasn't really any nerves or anything like that. I literally just wanted to fight. And then in terms of my toughest fight, I'd probably have to say my third one, because basically what happened was there was a miscommunication with the weigh-ins. So we were under the impression that the fight was 70 kilograms, same day weigh-in, but it wasn't. It was 70 kilograms day before weigh-in. So I dieted my body down to 70 kilograms. And then the guy that I fought obviously weight cutted his way down to 70 kilograms. So by the time that we fought, he was so much bigger than me. And in terms of style, his style is very much one that we'd said was going to be one that I would struggle with. Somebody who's very long range, good kicking, keep it at a distance. And we were fighting in his backyard as well. So basically everything we thought would make a fight hard for me, it was that. And then I still won, but that was probably the toughest fight. That was against Connor Hughes. That was, say, my third amateur fight.
How did your professional debut go? You're undefeated in your professional career, but was it a stressful experience, or you were like, okay, I had a lot of amateur fights under my belt, and I'm ready to advance through a springboard to make a step up?
To be honest, it was quite easy. If I'm being honest, not to sound disrespectful to the guys that I fought, but the last few amateur fights I had, the emphasis was we want to be fighting the best guys in the UK or Europe. That's what we wanted. So we went out looking for those opponents. And then when I took my pro debut, they obviously looked to start you off slowly. So they gave me two guys with losing records. And then I knocked them both out in the first round. So to be honest, in terms of the fight itself, it felt like a little bit of a step back. But then obviously in the one from last week, I was a much more credible opponent. Fought some good boys. So that was a bit more like it.
About your third fight and the fight last week, you want to say that this was probably the greatest challenge of your career. So what was the tactics for that fight? I assume you prepared yourself mentally?
Yeah, to be honest, mental preparation is something that comes really easy to me. I know a lot of guys talk about having psychologists, mental coaches, and putting themselves in the zone and things like that. It's not really something that affects me at all. I just am. I can take the mental stress of fighting, no problem. And then in terms of the tactics for the fight, when we were watching him, we felt that just he does not like pressure at all. So the plan was to go out, get in his face, take him down, keep him down, and just make him uncomfortable. And then in the first two rounds, I thought I did that very easily, really. I think in the first round, in a standing position, he landed no strikes. On the ground, when you're on your back and you throw a few very soft punches from your back, he threw a few of those up, but obviously nothing in comparison to the elbows I was throwing down at him. And then in the second round, he landed 7 strikes on the feet. I landed far more than that. I landed more leg kicks in that round than he landed total strikes. And then when I took him down, I was on his back for a significant amount of time. It was just the only thing I have to say to give him a lot of credit was he did a very good job minimizing the amount of damage I could do. In the second round in particular, I was on his back with a single leg ride, and he just did such a good job of tying up my hands. I couldn't land any significant damage, which to be honest was so frustrating. And then, by the time the third round came along, I knew that I was far ahead on the scorecards, and he was just going to be throwing Hail Marys trying to get lucky, which to be honest led to the third round being a little bit boring. But it is what it is. I thought it was a very clear win for me, and obviously got the unanimous decision as well.
How was the feel fighting for 3 rounds for the first time?
Yeah, all good. A good experience, to be fair. Because I say up to that point, I'd never got outside the first round. Cardio is definitely a strength for sure. Everybody I train with comments on my cardio. So yeah, it felt fine from a physiological standpoint. I wasn't tired at all. I was very, very frustrated that I couldn't get him out of there in the first 2 rounds, and then in the third, it led to me playing a little bit safe, which was frustrating. But then, in hindsight, all he was going to look to do was shut his eyes and swing something and hope for the best. But yeah, from an energy standpoint, I was fine.
What are your plans for the future? Do you plan to keep grinding? Do you have some other goals? Do you have some opponents locked in?
It's funny, right? Normally I'd have names for you, and I tell you when I want to fight them. I'd have it all planned out. But because of the situation at the minute, it's kind of all up in the air. So I'm pretty sure that I'll be fighting in March in London. They're doing another trilogy then, which I'll be on. And in terms of who they're going to give me, I actually have no idea. Like all of the guys ranked above me in Cage Warriors now have a lot more fights than I do. I'd fight any one of them, no problem at all. 100% I would have set the fight against any one of them. But from their point of view, I can see some of them using the excuse that I've only had 3 fights. And if they do go down that route, then I really have no idea who they're going to give me. But I'll just have to wait and see. Ian Deans is a brilliant matchmaker, to be fair to him, so I'm sure he can sort something out.
How hard it is in Cage Warriors, for example, you're having 3-0 undefeated squad, but for example, if somebody has 15, 20 fights, he has the right to turn the fight down, or how does it go anyway?
It's a tough one, isn't it? Because, like, from my point of view, the quickest way to get to the top is to beat the guy at the top. So obviously the guy at the top at the minute is Morgan Charrier. I think he's 16-7.
Yep.
So being realistic, he has every right to turn that down. Just based on the fact that it's a lose-lose for him. Because if I beat him, it makes him look really bad, losing to somebody with so much less experience. And if he wins, then on paper, it's a fight that he should have won. So I wouldn't knock him or talk shit about him, or anybody else with a significant, with that much more significant experience over me for turning it down. But just, yeah, fingers crossed, Ian can sort something out. And if they do have more experience, I don't give a shit. I think I'll beat them anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Really great. I can't wait for the trilogy to happen again. And would you like to greet someone, maybe to give a shout out to someone?
Yeah, to be honest, all my sponsors, I'm going to struggle now to remember off the top of my head, but Sinclair Group, David Spear Commercials, Tatami Fightwear, Man Island Finance, J. Lacey Groundworks, MM Body Coach, Christy Ravy Sports Massage. Yeah, everyone who sponsors me, thank you I'd say very, very grateful for that. It does definitely help a lot. And then shout out to Matt Academy as well, which is the place where I train. And thank you to you for having me on as well, mate. Yeah, enjoyed it.
All right, thank you for the interview. I will release it on Wednesday. I have some schedule locked in. I will release it Wednesday morning, and I'll send you video. All right, thank you so much.
Cool. Thank you very much.
All right, have a great day.